So we covered on, I believe it was Sunday's show. Or was it Sunday or Tuesday? The days are bleeding into each other now. I think it was Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. The vicious attack on Hamdan Balal, the co-director of the Oscar-winning documentary about Israeli settlers in the West Bank called No Other Land. So he was beaten and he was detained by the Israeli military. And the next day, he was released to come home. So here is some footage from Plus 972 magazine, which is the magazine of Yuval Abraham, who was his Israeli co-director in the film. So here he is arriving home.
بصراحة أنا أول مرة بتعرض لهيك هجوم، أول مرة بتعرض لهيك يعني هجوم قوي جدا اللي هو بهدف القتل، اللي هو بعد ما فزت في الأوسكار. ما كنت متوقع إنه أنا أتعرض لهيك هجومات. أنا فكرت إنه فعلا بعد الأوسكار صار إنه الهجوم مركز كثير ممكن علينا وتهديد حتى على حياتنا مستقبلا.
And he also gave a phone interview to ABC News where he described what happened to him. So here's some video here. ABC News tweets out, on Tuesday, bloodied and bruised, he spoke to our Matt Rivers on the phone from a hospital bed in the West Bank after he was released from Israeli custody, saying he was severely beaten at the hands of Jewish settlers at his home on Monday. The IDF has denied being involved in any beating, of course. Here we go.
Hard attack. He's focused just on my head. He's kicked my head like around 10 times. I was bleeding from everywhere from my head. And also there's another soldier, he was kicked me and beat me with a gun.
And so at some point, Israeli police show up to separate everybody. They take Balal into custody where he is detained overnight, he says, in pretty rough conditions is how he described it to me. He's questioned. He's ultimately released on bail in the morning. But still, he says this is an attack that he believes is indicative of broader settler violence against Palestinians in the West Bank, and he wants the world to know about it. He was in both IDF and Israeli police custody overnight. He went back and forth between two different facilities. Both of them are saying that they deny having any responsibility, any involvement in this beating. They also say that he was taken into custody on suspicion of stone throwing and endangering security, and they say the investigation is continuing at this point. But that's their response, Kana.
So obviously, just a horrible situation, and you would think maybe that the Oscars might have something to say about this. But unfortunately, Yuval Abraham tweets out, sadly, the U.S. Academy, which awarded us an Oscar 3 weeks ago, declined to publicly support Hamdan Balal while he was being beaten and tortured by Israeli soldiers and settlers. The European Academy voiced support, as did countless other award groups and festivals. Several U.S. Academy members, especially in the documentary branch, pushed for a statement, but it was ultimately refused. We were told that because other Palestinians were beaten up in the settler attack, it could be considered unrelated to the film, so they felt no need to respond. In other words, while Hamdan was clearly targeted for making No Other Land, he recalled soldiers joking about the Oscar as they tortured him. He was also targeted for being Palestinian, like countless others every day who are disregarded. This, it seems, gave the Academy an excuse to remain silent when a filmmaker they honored, living under Israeli occupation, needed them the most. It's not too late to change this stance. Even now, issuing a statement condemning the attack on Hamdan and the Masafer Yatta community would send a meaningful message and serve as a deterrent for the future. Well, I don't know how big a deterrent it's going to be to these people. But he's saying it's not too late to make this right. So Zaina Free Palestine here on Twitter realizes more celebrities reacted negatively to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars than they did for an Oscar winner getting lynched by an Israeli mob.
Yep.
What happened to them being scared and scarred or scared and traumatized was the slap somehow more traumatic than a literal targeted assault. Amen. So, update. After our criticism, the Academy's leaders sent out this email to members explaining their silence on Hamdan's assault. They need to respect unique viewpoints. So this is their somewhat statement. So at first I was just kind of like perusing materials for this piece, and I looked this over and I'm like, well, this must not be relevant because it doesn't mention anything about the actual incident. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That was the so-called statement.
That's the statement.
That's the statement. The statement that seems completely irrelevant that I almost passed over. The first time I put this exhibit thing together, I passed over this entirely. I assumed it was irrelevant. But no, here's their statement on this. Dear Academy members, at the heart of the Academy's mission is a commitment to honoring excellence in the motion picture arts and sciences and connecting the world through the power of cinema. We do this through our work on the Oscars, our exhibitions and programs, our preservation and education efforts, and so much more. We believe deeply in the ability of film to illuminate, to provoke thought, and to bridge divides by offering a window into diverse human experiences. We fundamentally believe that film has the power to enlighten global audiences and highlight different perspectives, and we encourage our members to use their art to do so. The Academy condemns harming or suppressing artists for their work or their viewpoints. So I guess that's their statement against the attack. We are living in a time of profound change marked by conflict and uncertainty across the globe, in the U.S., and within our own industry. Understandably, we are often asked to speak on behalf of the Academy in response to social, political, and economic events. I guess Kamala Harris is the head of the writing their press release.
Yeah.
It sounds like she moved on to greener pastures. Yeah. It sounds like something that she would write. In these instances, it is important to note that the Academy represents close to 11,000 global members with many unique viewpoints. We are, however, united in a shared belief in the importance of storytelling, in the value of empathy, and in the role of film as a catalyst. As an organization, our focus continues to be the celebration of creative voices that make up the global film community and supporting your freedom to create, to challenge, and to imagine. We remain steadfast in this work, and we are grateful to walk alongside each of you in it. Signed, Bill Kramer and Janet Yang. That is their so-called statement that they were pressured into giving, where they don't mention anything about what happened. They don't mention the name of the filmmaker who was almost beaten to death. Nothing. Just a vague statement about, we believe in the power of film to communicate different points of view, and we condemn any attack on any artist or suppression of any artist. No mention of the incident at all. Now, Yuval did his homework here, and he says, compare this, meaning that absolute just word salad of a non-statement that they issued. Compare this, which didn't even name Hamdan, to the Academy's rightfully strong position when it's the Iranian government oppressing filmmakers. So this was, I believe, 2011. I should have remembered the date because it's not on here. But as an international organization representing over 6,000 artists in 35 countries, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is deeply concerned whenever and wherever the rights of filmmakers are threatened, except for the West Bank, I guess. You shouldn't say wherever. Right. The recent arrest of 6 Iranian filmmakers, the sentence of 1 year in jail and 90 lashes to an actress just for playing a role in an acclaimed film, and the continued house arrest of Jafar Panahi, among others, is a situation that demands our serious attention. So in that case, they named the incident, they named the people involved in the incident, and they named the specific offense against the people involved in the incident. In this incident, nothing, radio silence, until they were shamed into saying something. And when they said something, they essentially said nothing.
Yeah, this goes from the top to the bottom. It's the reason that, coming from an arts background, I've been just absolutely disgusted. I was disgusted before October 7th. But after October 7th, the shallowness of their political posturing just became too much to even just bear.
Yeah, exactly.
For years, these people had completely ignored any economic issues, any class issues, had aligned themselves, done exactly the opposite of what artists are supposed to do. They align themselves with power. They align themselves with the elite class. They put themselves into the business of uh, criticizing the deplorables and just following that lead, which is partly, not entirely, it's partly technological changes, viewing habit changes, but it's part of what's destroyed their industry. People hate them. People hate them. When we had Gary from Nerdrotic on Jimmy's show, I showed a video of the Academy Awards in the 80s. And me and Gary were like a week apart in age. So we can both remember. People used to love these people. Can you imagine opening a business like Planet Hollywood today? Like, it wouldn't even make any sense. Like, back then, people really worshipped
Are those even
these
around anymore?
these
Are they
movie
still
stars.
around?
Yeah, no, it's collapsed, and partly because it was built around the premise that people love movie stars,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they don't anymore. So yeah, even the legacy business is, I think it's almost gone.
Right.
But who would even think of opening that today? It was Arnold, it was Bruce Willis, and it was Stallone were the
Right.
partners in it, or they were the front of it. This is part of why it's collapsed, because it's the worst combination. It's taking shallow identitarian stands with the most smug, self-satisfied attitude possible and absolutely refusing to have any political courage on anything that actually matters. Though, and anyone who does, like Susan Sarandon, banished. They'll banish anybody who has actual principles.
Yeah. And this honestly is why I'm surprised it won. I'm surprised it won the award.
That surprised me too. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't think that they were going to do it. Maybe it's because it's a secret ballot, so no one has to know who voted for it. So they all got to do, what they thought was the right thing in private, where there was no risk. I'm sure if it was a public ballot, it wouldn't have won.
I am
If
sure
you can go up and look up the names of who votes for what, it would not have won.
100%. And look, I can see this in my own life because I still know a lot of people in the arts. I would say probably 95% of them in a private conversation are pro-Palestine.
Right.
But they won't say it.
Right.
They won't say it because they're afraid it's going to cost them some work.
Right.
Too many Zionists are in a position to hire and fire, spread rumors about you, get you blacklisted. So they just won't talk about the subject, which to me at that point, shut up about politics. Just don't talk about it. I could tolerate that more if you just don't talk about it. Don't pretend to be a person of principle. If you don't have principles, that's fine. Shut the fuck up. Stop talking about politics. I don't want to hear about tampons in the fucking bathroom as if that makes you a hero, as if signaling ideas that are very popular, acceptable, and virtuous in the circle of people who you depend on to get work.
Right.
That's not principle. That's very easy. You're not saying anything. Say something that's hard. Otherwise, don't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the thing that's especially irritating about the arts community is this pretense about the value of the work that they do. Right.
Yes.
Where like most of the work that they do has no value whatsoever. Every once in a while, there's a piece of art that's important.
Sure.
Right. So you could, in that case, maybe justify yourself. Well, I had to stay in the game so I could get this really important play set up at a theater, or I can get a film made, or I can get a song distributed. Even in that example, it doesn't justify your silence in the face of something like this. But most of what these people do is just schlock and garbage anyway. What you're basically doing, you're competing for a role in Tony and Tina's wedding in Westchester, and so you can't speak out about Palestine as if the struggle of an artist is this noble thing. In some cases it is. In most cases it's not. In most cases you're a man-child who sacrificed everything for nothing.
Okay, honestly,
Most cases,
That
not all,
I
obviously, present company accepted, but the self-righteousness of these artists, as if doing what they do is enough a contribution to humanity that justifies their cowardice, that's fucking annoying to me.
honestly, long before we came to this cultural moment, it was always part of my problem being in that world. Like
Right.
that, I was never able to buy into that pretentiousness.
Right.
That, yes, well, this is what I'm contributing to society. No, you're trying to live your wet dream
Exactly.
and get
Right.
paid for it.
Right.
That's what this is.
This
You're not like,
romanticization of the
yeah, you're
artist's
not like
struggle. Yeah.
up
Like,
in a garret struggling with the deeper
Exactly.
issues, especially this generation of artists, and not just this generation. I'm including my own. Like whenever I directed something that wasn't set in a contemporary period, I had to be a history teacher.
Right.
Like it's such a shallow society at this point. Even the people in the arts community are ignorant and uneducated. It's really just about the narcissism. It's really just about wanting to be Michael Wahlberg and Entourage,
Right.
to
Exactly.
be that
Right.
character. Like that's what they want. This isn't this struggling with your soul in a cold,
Yeah.
cold
Now, there are
space.
exceptions, obviously. Like your friend Kevin is an exception. Like there's people who are the real
Absolutely,
deal, right?
but look at where that places him in relation to the community. Yeah,
Right. And look
he
at the work
fucking
that he
he
does.
left the country.
Right.
He left
Yeah,
the country because he got so much shit for the
Yeah.
production that we streamed.
Right.
Yeah, no, and that's also a class thing. I mean, a lot of it is class. Like having come from people who are poor, who struggle, to see somebody who almost always comes from bottom middle class,
Right.
more often upper middle class, talking about how broke they are. Like,
Yeah.
it takes all you can. It's very difficult if you are not from that to get along with people like that well enough to work with them. That was a struggle I had throughout my career, even before things got as serious as they are now.
Please clap.